When rumors started spreading online that actress Diane Keaton planned to leave part of her multi-million-dollar estate to her dog, the internet did what it always does. It reacted. It sounded crazy. A Hollywood star leaving $5 million to her golden retriever. But still, stories like that don't just come out of nowhere. Behind the headlines, it turns out that the idea isn't so far-fetched. Across the country, more and more people are also planning for their pets' futures in the same way that they plan for their own. Kendall Page is one of them. When Kendall sat down to finalize her will, her biggest question wasn't about money. It was about Wallace and Hadley. They're the center of her everyday life, and she wanted to make sure that life keeps going for them when she's gone. So she wrote them into her will. Kendall isn't a celebrity. She's an estate attorney from North Carolina. But the decision she made to include her dogs in her estate plan reflects a growing shift in how Americans plan for the relationships that matter most to them. That change is showing up in places most people never think about, like estate plans and end-of-life paperwork. Pet owners are starting to ask new kinds of questions. Not just who gets what, but who takes care of the dog when they're gone. And it turns out there's actually a legal way to do that. Under US law, pets can't inherit money or property. But owners can create something called a pet trust, a plan that sets aside funds and instructions to make sure that their animals are cared for after they're gone. Kendall says it's actually simpler than most people think.
Typically, for a trust for pets, you can easily say, I leave X amount of dollars for the healthcare and maintenance of my pet, and they're to use that money for that.
Those directions can be as detailed as an owner wants. Everything from favorite toys to how many times a year the dog visits the vet. Every US state now recognizes pet trusts. And here in Florida, the statute even spells out how the funds are managed and what happens when the pet passes. It's a technical framework that's built to address something deeply human. What happens to the animals we leave behind? More people are living alone. Fewer are having kids. And in that space, dogs have stepped in, becoming the steady constant people build their lives and even their wills around. For Kendall, that truth is personal.
Probably the biggest part of my will is for pets. But even people who have children, pets are important aspect of their lives, and they do take that seriously.
But for those who don't make a plan, the outcome could be devastating. A 2024 analysis found that 1 in 10 animals are surrendered to US shelters each year because their owners died. This means tens of thousands of pets lose their homes not because of neglect or cruelty, but simply because no one was left to claim them. It's a quiet crisis shelters deal with every year, one that only grows as intake numbers rise and space runs short. For organizations trying to manage those losses, estate plans and legacy programs are a form of prevention. They're a way to keep loved animals from entering the shelter system in the first place. Kendall knows that risk firsthand. Like many of her clients, she doesn't have children, and that's what led her to plan for her dog's care. When she and her spouse are gone, Wallace and Hadley will stay in their own home, cared for by a trusted friend who already looks after them. The house will later be sold with any remaining funds donated to the animal nonprofit that helped her plan it all. Kendall didn't invent the idea. She's carrying on a practice that's existed for decades, one built on the same promise every devoted owner makes, that their dogs will be cared for no matter what. Programs like Paws Forever in North Carolina and the Pet Project here in Florida help owners formalize these plans, ensuring that when people pass, their pets don't end up in shelters. Whitney Zogby, Paws Forever's executive director, says the idea for this kind of program caught on early.
I think it's become something that other organizations like ours has realized is important. We created this program about 12 years ago or so it was pretty innovative at the time, and we had a ton of interest right away.
Enrollment into these programs usually costs a few $1,000s. Most people fund it through savings set aside, life insurance policies, or even using real estate. Kendall's plan goes that route. She's leaving her home to her dogs so they can stay there until they pass. To many owners, the house isn't just where they live. It's the space their dogs already know. The yards they play in, the rooms they sleep in, the rhythms of life that they've built together. When those dogs eventually move into these programs, the transition can be difficult. Staff bring their beds, blankets, even the old couch, anything that smells and feels familiar to them. These plans aren't about wealth or eccentricity. They're about continuity for our pets and making sure a bond that's lasted a lifetime doesn't end with it. In the end, what owners like Kendall Page are leaving behind isn't money or property. It's peace. And for the dogs who once sat by their side, that's an inheritance that lasts forever. To read the full piece on this story and to see all my interviews and reporting, head to my HomeFetch Substack, link in the description down below. You'll find my article there along with more stories about how people plan, live, and build around their dogs, from the homes they share today to the ones they'll leave behind. And if you like this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below with what you think I should dig into next. Thank you so much for watching and for reading, and I will see you next time.